Hi, I'm Jackie Tantillo, and this is Should Have Listened to My Mother. Patricia Lohan is well known as an international Feng Shui expert, manifesting magnet, and real-life Irish Celtic shaman who guides you in how to create the health, wealth, and prosperity you've been striving towards. Patricia is a coach and healer. If you see or listen to her presentations, you'll find that her energy is infectious and she's deeply committed to helping adults and children find harmony within their home. Okay, maybe you're asking yourself, what is Feng Shui? Well, my understanding is that Feng Shui is an ancient Chinese practice. It centers around finding harmony and balance by creatively rearranging things, say in your home, office, bedrooms, kids' rooms, wherever you spend a significant amount of time. I believe Feng Shui translates to the way of wind and water. Patricia has been practicing and teaching others for decades how to create the right flow of energy in particular environments and harnessing the power of the mind, which can lead to inner healing. Oprah Winfrey says, employing Feng Shui can help you get out of your own way to find what it is you are really meant to do. Once you discover this, the pieces will fall into place. I'm very curious about the beginnings of Patricia's journey and what role her mother has played in who she is today. Patricia Lohan, it's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you so much, and I'm delighted to be here.
You are Irish.
I am.
And you travel a lot, so I would love to find out where all that love and passion for being all over the world. And you help so many people. You've been doing this for so long. And where, tell us, where and how, what role does your mom play in who you are today?
So, what role? This is a great question. And I think the role is that she actually never questioned us, never questioned me for what I wanted to do. And, when I was about 15, we moved into a new house and there was lots of things kind of going wrong in our family life. Their business, my parents' business was doing great, but there was a lot of health issues. There was legal disputes. We'd moved from one house where these kind of things never happened to this other house and it was ideally the dream house. When people walked into our new home, they went, wow, you live here? We had the good address in our town. It was a magnificently, perfectly designed home, aesthetically beautiful, but all our lives and so many different levels were kind of falling apart. And I got into Feng Shui, believe it or not. And I actually bought books or asked for books about it and was changing my bedroom, doing these things. And I said to my parents, I went online. You remember the internet used to go beep, beep, could be really slow and connect on your phone. And
the dial up. Right.
Are you using the internet? Go, So I was on the internet. I found someone to come and help feng shui our home, and they hired the woman, So that is an openness to, and I think that's something that's really important, that is really supported me, is that openness to anything that I kind of thought of or did. There was no, you can't do it. It was just okay, well, we'll give it a go. And they had no prior knowledge of what feng shui was. They'd no clue. They weren't ever into it. And yet they still just said, okay, let's give it a go.
Wow, that's great. The trust. Mm-hmm. So give us a little bit of background. How many siblings do you have? And your parents, did they work?
Yes.
Was your mom home all the time? A little bit of that.
No. So I have 2 sisters and 2 brothers. Both of my parents had a son each when they met, and they're both obviously older than us. So we've 2 older brothers who didn't live with us when we were growing up, and then I have 2 sisters. So in our family dynamic, there was the 2 of us, and we didn't see our brothers much growing up. So there was like mom and dad, and they were entrepreneurs, and they really kind of met when they were working together. And my dad was running a business, and my mom was working with him. And then they kind of kept running different businesses. So they had bars and hotels, or cafes or guest houses. So they were very entrepreneurial. They both worked together in the business. And so we all worked with them as well, basically. So it was like a family business, So the bars, not so much. We didn't really work, but like there was summers where the house we had moved, we had a bar. It was really popular with traditional Irish music. It was like the home of traditional Irish music in our town. And upstairs, the university students, used to live up there during the winters. And obviously, we were just talking before we got on, they all went to Ireland. They all went to America then to get J1s to work for the summers.
Oh, very
so
good.
They would have a mass exodus, and they'd be gone and the rooms would be there. And we had like a guest house that my parents let us run, basically. So we were given our own business basically when we were kids to run. We'd bring guests in, show them the room, tell them how much it was. We would change the beds, do the laundry, do all that, because my parents would be busy running their business downstairs with the bar. So we got a lot of responsibility. We were given like a lot of responsibility very young. We also took care of ourselves because they were working mostly nights. And obviously during the place was open all the time, it would open at like 10 a.m. until like 3 a.m. So it was like a business that didn't really sleep, and they got little sleep, but they were still there. And we still had our dinner together every evening. So that was like one thing that was like a really steady thing. And food was definitely the center point of our family. My dad was an amazing cook, and he did all of the cooking in our house. Our mom maintained it to a perfect pin, clean, neat, organized. But dad looked after the food and the cooking. And he cooked dinner every single day for us at the same time.
Well, how did you refer to your mom? What did you call her?
So we called her Mom.
Mom.
Yeah.
And what is her name?
Her name is Geraldine.
And is she still with us?
She is still with us. Yeah, she's still with us.
That's fantastic.
Yes. So she's still with us. My dad passed away a couple of months ago.
Oh, sorry.
And yeah, that has been like a huge huge shift in the dynamic with the family. But he was an amazing man with the biggest heart, and just the solid, holding the ground really, and holding the family together in a real deep bond of love. So he was a massive gift to us all.
So how's your mom doing? It's very soon still, right?
It is still soon. And I think she's always been a very active, going person. And she has a lot of energy. People always look at me like, where do you get so much energy? And I'm like, look at my mom. Like, she is like the Energizer Bunny. So she has a lot of energy, a lot of enthusiasm. And she's really just focused on, where else can she help and be of service, and, support her family, because she lives very close to all of her siblings. So she's a very close network with her family, and she's close to them. So she's really kind of like stepped in as more like the matriarch there with them.
Well, you obviously have to face. Mm-hmm. You have to jump into that morning, whether you want to or not. But you also have to have a path or a belief of how I can go forward, or what is going to help me move forward with me while I'm grieving.
Exactly.
And if I know anything about Ireland, there's an abundance of love.
That's it, yes.
With everyone that I've ever met or heard about or talked about. I just think that they're one of the same. Your mom, and she's from a large family, you just said?
She's from a very large family. There was 13 in her family, and there's now 6.
Oh my
still
goodness.
With us. Yeah. So they lost a lot. There was a lot of family illness at a young age in their house. But yeah, she's still very close to all of the ones that are with us.
So she learned from her experience of how to, it didn't matter your age, you automatically stepped in and had to find a place and kind of put to work if that were the, if that were
Yeah,
the
that's it.
So
And
she,
that's what happened.
she
That's what
carried
happened
that
to
on
us.
to you.
For sure. For sure. Yeah. And we were all, and people always said to us, like, we're all like hard workers. Myself and my sisters are hard workers and very diligent. And yeah, just love taking care of people, which she would have done very well.
As a teen, then, were your friends able to have more freedom and out having fun, and you had to be managing this guest house? Or was it that kind of thing where you have to do your chores before you go out, or you kind of had your freedom as well
We had
once you
our
got your
freedom.
work done?
It was a bit of a dance, because there was three of us. So some of us had some jobs to do, and others didn't had other jobs, and we got to, you said at the beginning we talked about travel. So for example, as a teenager, when I was still in school, not yet in university, I would get to go away to French language college. I would go away to the Gaeltacht, the thing where you go and learn and improve your Irish, your Gaelic language skills, which was kind of like school but great fun.
I bet.
In the summer, in the sea, like, and maybe it's a version of going to the Hamptons, just like, but not on a very posh scale. But we would go out to the west of Ireland, and be with in the community, speaking Irish, going to school in the morning, and then just being with loads of other young people, having loads of fun.
Now, did everyone, a majority of your friends would have to study Gaelic?
We actually all had to study Gaelic to get into university. Yeah, everybody
Great.
to get into university, you had to get a high grade in Irish language. So that was like a compulsory part. So a part of that was, so then we got to go away for the summer. Like, you got to go for three weeks away. You'd make new friends, improve your Irish language skills. So it was good for everybody. And I think, as well, having us all around during the summer it was good that we had a small guest house to run or things to do, because obviously they didn't have like set time off when it came to work and holidays. And the summer would be the busiest time in the season for the bar and for the business.
Right. So they were working all the time. Was your mom keeping an eye on your studies and things, or she trusted that it was up to you to do what you were supposed to do?
We didn't have much of like checking on us. Like, we just, as I said, I think it was just when you're given that level of responsibility, you just get on with it. So there was no like, you have to sit down and do your homework. Like, it was just expected that we would do our homework. It wasn't like there was no set that, and that was, I think that was really a really nice way to grow up, because I remember some of my friends would literally, their parents would be like locking them in to do their homework and giving out to them and sitting down and checking. But we didn't have any of that. We were like, just, we expect you to do your homework. Like, that's what you have to do, so we would just do it. And there wasn't any resistance or kickback from us, because we got on with it. So that's, I suppose, is where you get responsibility, then you just take it.
It's brilliant, though, isn't it? Because it was understood. It never had to be laid out. Because once you start laying out those threats or whatever, then it seems like kids don't. You have to go do your homework. My boys, they're now done with college, but man, the hours of, is your homework done? Are you doing your homework? It just is maddening. And if we could maybe just switch our philosophy around, it might maybe make them get work.
Yeah, for sure.
Make them get a job.
It's so interesting. Yeah, true. You never know. And that was something for us that, my friends would have noticed the difference with us and them, because we were just, I said, oh, I want to do a stand at the market and bake cakes. And they're like, okay. And my dad was like, yeah, sure. Okay. He's like, what do you need? And I'm like, oh, well, I want to go. This is the cake I'm going to sell. This is how much I'm going to sell for. He's like, right. And I was like, can I have some money to go like buy the stuff? And he's like, here you go. Like, so he invested in like my first business to support me. There was no like question of it. Like, no, you can't do that. Don't be ridiculous. Like, and that was something that was, I think, that stood to us, because it's opened up our myself and my siblings horizons to go and do things outside the box.
Anything is possible.
Anything is possible. Yeah. Like my sister moved to France oh my God, maybe like 6 years ago. And now she has a cafe. She's opening her second cafe. And
Wow.
the first one just got an award. And she didn't speak any French when she got there. She had never run a cafe before. And now it's like an award-winning cafe, you know? And it's like, it doesn't actually surprise me, because when you're brought up in that environment of like, yeah, of course you can do it. Like there was no like, don't, you're crazy, don't do that. It was like, oh, that's a great idea. Go ahead, have a good luck with that one. You know, when I quit the business, like I worked in our family business for a long time. And when I left it and said I'm going to India to become a yoga teacher, they were like, okay.
Did you ever wish that they would say, oh, don't, we're going to miss you too much? Did you ever want them to reel you in a little bit or anything like that?
Well, I think that my dad tried to, because not intentionally, but he set up the business. He'd retired and then he was kind of bored. So we went and bought this new business and set it all up. And then I was like, I'll come and help you. So I ended up working with him like every day for 8 years. We set it up and I ran it for him, with him for 8 years. And it was actually when my mom was running a different business. They were all like, there's always just something going on. And she ended up coming in and kind of seeing me very miserable. And they had just been visiting my sister in Australia, and everyone in the restaurant was like saying to my mom, like, oh my God, it must be so hard saying goodbye to Nicola. She's in Australia, and how is she doing? You know, like, is she okay? You know, it must be sad saying goodbye to her. And I just remember Mom saying, no, it wasn't hard to say goodbye. Of course it was, but she's so happy.
Yeah. Oh, like, so, I kept saying that when my boys were away. I said, as long as they're happy.
If they're happy,
if
it
they're
doesn't
far,
matter.
It's okay, but I just want them to be happy.
Happy. So that in that moment, she kind of looked at me, and I'd been 8 years in the business, and she just said, she was just like, I think you need to leave. Because I was not happy, you know, this was not my soul's path, you know, working and running the business. And, you know, I loved it and I put my heart and soul into it, but I was ready for a change. And that's when I just popped out of it. I'm going to India to become a yoga teacher. And nobody said no. They just were like, okay, you know, and when I ended up coming back with like no money and nothing, and had like, you just had my yoga qualifications and some singing bowls. And they were like, what are you going to do? Like, Mom's like, what are you going to do with these fruit bowls? Because I had all these Tibetan bowls.
Yeah.
What are you going to do with these fruit bowls? And I'm like, I'm going to sell them. I'm going to play them. I'm going to do. She's like, oh, okay. Like, there wasn't like, you're crazy. We've no faith in you, you know.
It's absolutely so refreshing. When it came to a personal issue or personal something sensitive to you, would your mom be open to sitting and spending time talking to you about something? Or was it your dad that you felt comfortable with?
It was mostly my dad. So my dad, like Mom has had a lot of things happen. You know, she grew up in a family with a lot of grief and a lot of things unfolding. So she wasn't typically as in her heart as my dad would have been, or like her coping mechanisms were different. So Dad just was able to be there and to listen and be there, and just, I don't know, he just was different with that. And so he possibly took on, like, maybe they were role switches, that he was possibly more like the primary care in terms of like that loving kindness, soft energy, which you typically associate with the mom. Mm-hmm. And not that my mom wasn't kind and loving, but it was just a different energy. And I possibly would have said that Dad was more a primary carer from that perspective, sitting like to go. And if something, you know, I remember breaking up with a guy and coming home, like literally my car full, arriving, like I'm in my 20s, I'm like knocking on the door going, hello, I've left. And Dad's like, come on in. And I'm like, hi. And he's like, it's okay. And I'm a grown woman, and I'm like sitting on his lap, and he's just like holding me. He's like, it's all good. You have a bed here, you know? So that was, that's just how it rolled in our house. For me personally, I'm not actually sure for my sisters. I think they could be a bit different.
But every couple finds the right path. For one will cover one thing and it kind of rotates, and it's all about timing and what the child is looking for or needs at the time.
100%.
At least they seem to be on the same page, your parents, and they did a lot together. They worked very, very hard. And the lessons that they instilled in you from what you've just been explaining was pretty remarkable.
Yeah, for sure. And they both were very much like, yeah, no problem. There was never, not say the responsibility in us, but also not unquestioning faith in our capabilities to do something. I was like, I'll come and help you run the business. And I was like, okay, here you go. So he just like gave it to me to do.
And just watched. And if you needed help, wow, that is absolutely brilliant. That is just such a great philosophy when it comes to raising kids. I'll have to tell my niece. Her son turns 1 today.
Oh my God, yeah. And I think that's one of the things, like and especially for me looking back, I'm just like, I've been able to go and do so many adventures and just like follow my heart. And, that's something that they did. They trusted their intuition. They'd be like, okay, this is a good opportunity. Let's go for it. So that's why we, like myself and my sisters, and have like changed our careers and changed things, and we've definitely not been adverse to change through them, which is really a strong thing, because change is what life is, and if you're not good at coping with change, it makes life more difficult.
And there's no fear of trying something new, right? That change or trying something new. There was never this big, this dramatic, oh my God, you're going to try and open a cafe.
Yeah.
There's millions of people that would love to open a cafe and just won't ever really get to do it. So I applaud you for this message. This message is fantastic.
Thank you. And it's like the same with them, like starting a business, or like, I had a successful business with my sound healing, and then I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna stop that now, and I'm going to go to India, and then on my honeymoon, we're going to go to India on our honeymoon, and then we're going to go to Bali, and we don't know when we're coming back. And there was such a distinct difference between myself and my husband's family. I would be on chatting to my family, and they're like, "Oh, we'll come to visit you in Bali." So they all came to visit us in Bali. Whereas,
on your honeymoon,
we were there for 5 years,
right?
5 years. They eventually came to it. No, we were there. We're coming and going. But my husband's family, like literally, we have been on the road now since 2015. Not like constantly. We spend like months at a time in different places. But his family would be like, "When are you coming back?" Now I think they've kind of stopped asking, like, "When are you coming back? When are you coming back?" Whereas nobody ever asked me that. They're like, "Well, I'm having a good time.
Yeah.
Where are you going next?"
That's a great philosophy. You're living life, which is fantastic. But all of this has helped you get to where you are with Powerhouse, your
for sure
business, because it's teaching everyone what you learned through osmosis, and it just naturally in your childhood.
Yeah, for sure.
What I love is that with Feng Shui, you can help not only someone's office and bring them better prosperity, but peace and harmony in one's home, I think, is the most important thing. To me, my home is my castle. And I'm not talking about a big, huge castle, but it has to be peaceful and it has to have beauty. It was something my mom taught us. And again, I always say it's not about really expensive artwork or mirrors or chandeliers.
No.
It's just about those simple things that are peaceful. Yeah, so here you are doing it.
We are doing it. And, one of the things is, my mom was very house proud and always loved having a beautiful, my dad, we loved having a beautiful home that felt good. And that definitely has stood to me. And even as we move, I love to make a space homey and feel good. And for me, when I help women with their spaces, you're right. It is their castle. It's their sanctuary. It's the home for their soul, for their body, for their family. And we spend so much time in our environment. Like we spend so much time in our home, and it can be forgotten. And the power and potency of its energy to support us to flourish and shine is completely overlooked, in my opinion. And when we start to just become more aware and conscious of its energy, it can just really change everything.
I think so many of us are so busy, and we spend probably a majority of our time with our head down, like in our work. And it's really important to lift our heads and to breathe a little bit and to just relax our shoulders. And whatever way someone can do that, turn your computer off or your phone off, go out for a walk. It is really, really important. And that's when you will start to see your environment. And then you may decide to open the windows, in one way, shape, or form, and let the air in and maybe lessen things. And I don't know, to me it's freeing. I've been moving furniture around since we were kids with my mom. She was fun everywhere we went. And if you Google Patricia Lohan, Lohan, you will see her videos where she's in this Airbnb in this country or this house or this, and she's talking about everything. And is this a good place for this shelf, or should we move the bed? It reminds me so much of my childhood. My husband and my kids make fun of me all the time. But anyway, so your website for you, patricialohan.com or powerhousefengshui.com. People can find you, and you do seminars all over the world.
Yeah, I do in person and virtual. Our signature program is Powerhouse, which is 100% virtual. And we've got a community of women all over the world that we work with directly to support them in feng shuiing their homes and just bringing more harmony, more balance, more flow, more joy into their space and to support them. And as you were talking about someone like working at their desk and they've just got their head down, I don't know, I got this visual of like, I just saw a little bulb or like a plant, and it's like planted in the soil. But if the soil isn't looked after, like the plant can't grow and flourish. And that's like where we're planted at our desk or in our home. Like we're so busy with our head in there that we don't realize that like by just nurturing the soil, like our actual physical home around us, that it will support us to flourish. And that's what I feel like feng shui is, like the fertilizer, and they're really tending to and keeping the weeds out and everything for you to flower and to flourish and thrive where you are.
In getting ready for this interview, I did a lot more research about feng shui. And if anyone doesn't know how to spell it, my gosh, I should spell it for them, shouldn't we? F as in Frank, ENGSHUI, feng shui. To think that this ancient Chinese practice was developed over 3,000 years ago.
And that's actually the best part for me, is it's like this has been hanging around and for thousands of years. And, we see success with our clients every single day with like new jobs, new opportunities, like beautiful windfalls, like just so much fun, amazing things. And I'm just like, thank you to the amazing, people in ancient times, to our ancestors who divinated this practice, because it really is so powerful and profound.
I guess you can say the proof is in the pudding. There aren't many things around that last for thousands of years. I mean, there are many, but it's wonderful that people are exploring it and taking advantage of it now.
Yeah.
It's here for the taking for those who would like it.
It really is. And this is an interesting note when we talk about how old it is. But in the 90s, it was actually illegal to practice it in China. Because the powers that be in their communist regime didn't want it in the hands of, the common normal people, because it really is a very powerful practice for empowerment.
Taking power away from somebody who doesn't want it taken away from them.
Yeah, exactly.
Patricia Lohan, I'm so happy that we got a chance to have this conversation, and thank you for sharing stories about your mom, Geraldine.
Thank you so much.
And we'll be back next week with another episode of Should Have Listened to My Mother.